Israel's ground offensive continues as Palestinians inspected the site of overnight Israeli strikes on a building in Gaza City, which was sheltering displaced families. According to reports, at least 20 people were killed and many others wounded in the attack near Firas Local Market. Let's listen in to what a civilian has said.
نايمين بأمان الله والساعة 1:30 تقول حزام ناري 3 هو ورا بعض وزي ما انت شايف دمار وخراب وبيجي 17 18 شهيد ونايمين بأمان الله وفيش يعني لا حاجة لا بلغونا ولا قالوا لنا ولا حتى أعطونا إشارة. ليش مفاجئ زي ما انت شايف الخراب والدمار وأطفال ونساء حوالي يمكن 200 نفر يمكن 6-7 عائلات هنا كل المربع هذا.
Additionally, reports state that more than 45 people have been killed today. Moreover, displaced Palestinians continue to flee Gaza City as Israeli forces press deeper. Tanks have been seen moving through populated and built-up areas. Let's listen into what some Gazans has said.
ايش اوصف لك يعني مش زي قبل كانوا يخشوا هيك يعني بس يعني يتركوا البيوت واقفه يعني نوعا ما. حاليا في بيجيك روبوت مفخخ بحطه في الحاره يعني الاخبار تطلع كيف؟
وطلعنا نجري ولا شيء ولا حاجه زي ما انتم شايفين قاعد اغراضنا مرميين لما سحبوا لنا هي الناس على الطاره. لسه امبارح جبنا اغراضنا وعفشنا كله رمل واللي رايح واللي مقطع واللي مخرب. فيش اننا يعني بد الواحد ما يحكي ويعيط ما بوفيش اللي الواحد اللي في قلبه.
Now for this discussion, we're joined by Mark Sutherland. He's a political analyst, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us. Good to see you. Now, what does this civilian's testimony reveal about this emotional and physical toll of continued Israeli strikes on Gaza's residents?
Assuming good to join you. Respectfully, I can't see the translation of what is being said, but I can hear the emotion. As I have said consistently over the last 2 years since the awful events of the 7th of October 2023, that any deaths on both sides is deeply regrettable. As people have to then, as people like the UN leader or university governors have said, sometimes they throw that thing around that this all has to be put in a context. So let's put that in a context that since Hamas was elected by the people of Gaza when Israel withdrew 2005, withdrawing over 10,000 Israeli citizens and going for a two-state solution, they then have turned that very sadly into a rocket launch pad, have hid behind the residents of Gaza. They have built a tunnel system that's nearly the equivalent of the London Underground. And all of these things cannot be forgotten. The appalling atrocities of the 7th of October, the 1,200 plus citizens of Israel that were murdered when Hamas came over the border, along with citizens then of Gaza. We then look all through this, 250 hostages taken. The war would have ended the next day immediately if all the hostages were returned, dead and sadly there are some alive hostages and sadly there are dead ones, and they need to be handed back. This would have stopped. But of course, within the political melee that is now happening within the UN and within France, UK, Canada, Australia, we want to recognize a two-state solution, and in my opinion, not understanding history whatsoever, then I would turn around and that this has emboldened Hamas in this present situation. As I say, the Israelis have said, hand over the hostages. And now they are on this offensive in regard to their last step in clearing out Hamas. And when the figures come out, we have to remember, where are those figures coming from? Are they coming from, they're coming from the health authority? Under any figures, under things that are released, are all under the Hamas mandate under their control. We have to remember all of this. We also have to remember how embedded they are in regard to then being near hospitals or in hospitals as well, and they use the people on the ground as their shield. This is the situation that we are in, Asuma.
Yes. And Mark, now Trump has said that he wants to get a ceasefire done in Gaza. So based on his record in Ukraine and Russia, how likely is that he would be able to broker peace in Gaza? And what diplomatic tools does he realistically have now?
The pressure is on, and those diplomatic tools, of course, you could then argue have then been majorly dented by the fact that countries have then said, well, we are going to recognize a two-state solution. Leaders of Hamas are then saying that us reaching this point just shows you this is the fruit of our effort, which is the fruit of what happened from the 7th of October. That doesn't help in this situation at all, but they are pushing forward. Every time Hamas then, as it's done with his negotiator Witkoff, has asked for a ceasefire. Every time they have a ceasefire, the concern is, and it's happened, that they will then regroup, find other fighters that have been eliminated by the IDF, and then start all over again. The unfortunate thing is that this is not a video game. This is real life. But this is what Hamas then want. However, all of us we wish this to end. So any effort on the side of the president, on the administration, on the Trump administration, has to be supported and pushed. When you refer that in regard to Ukraine and Russia, as Trump actually said yesterday in his UN speech, when he refers to the 7 wars that he has been involved with stopping, negotiating that, he thought that the Russian-Ukraine war, as he said, which should never have started anyway, would never have started if he was the president 4 years previously, that he thought that was the easiest one to bring to the table and to end. And very sadly, as he has said, he's finding out that that is not the case. Hence his comments in regard to looking at this whole thing of where people buy their energy from, as he is putting the pressure on and asking people to join him from Western countries to turn around and say, we need to destabilize Russia economically to bring them to the table. Asuma.
Right. Thank you very much, Mark, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now,